The dawn of the 20th century was a time of great change and even greater tension. Across the globe, old empires and new nations alike found themselves standing at the crossroads of tradition and modernity. The world was rapidly transforming, fueled by the relentless march of industry, technology, and ambition. Cities swelled with people, factories belched smoke into the sky, and the pace of life quickened as never before. Yet beneath the surface, anxieties simmered as the established order faced unprecedented challenges. The world watched as nations flexed their muscles, eager to grab power and influence. Military parades and grand displays of naval strength became common sights, as countries sought to demonstrate their might to both their rivals and their own people. The great powers of Europe, along with rising forces in Asia, were locked in a tense competition, each maneuvering for advantage in a world that seemed poised on the brink of dramatic change. In the East, a centuries-old empire met a rising power, their ambitions on a collision course. The vast Russian Empire, with its sprawling territories and deep traditions, faced off against Japan, a nation that had only recently emerged from centuries of self-imposed isolation. The borderlands between them became a flashpoint, as both sides eyed the same strategic territories and resources. Russia, a vast land stretching from Europe to the Pacific, craved warm water ports and dominance in Asia. The construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway symbolized its ambitions, linking the heart of the empire to its far eastern frontiers. Russian leaders believed that control over Manchuria and Korea would secure their future as a global power, and they were willing to use military force to achieve their aims. This brought them to the doorstep of Japan, a nation rapidly modernizing after centuries of isolation. Japan's leaders, inspired by Western technology and ideas, had transformed their country into a formidable industrial and military power in just a few decades. The sight of modern warships in Japanese harbors and disciplined soldiers drilling in the shadow of new factories was a testament to their determination. Japan, once dismissed by many as a land of quaint traditions, had undergone a remarkable transformation. The old ways blended with the new, as bustling cities replaced sleepy villages and the rhythms of daily life changed forever. Factories hummed with activity, schools taught new generations the skills of the modern world, and a sense of national pride swept the country. The Meiji Restoration had set the nation on a path of industrialization and military buildup. Visionary leaders reformed government, industry, and the military, determined to ensure that Japan would never again be vulnerable to foreign domination. The country's rapid progress astonished the world and inspired both admiration and fear among its neighbors. This new Japan was determined to assert itself on the world stage. Its leaders believed that only by standing strong and expanding their influence could they secure their nation's future. The Japanese people, united by a sense of purpose, rallied behind their government's ambitions, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The stage was set for a clash of titans, a conflict that would shock the world and reshape the balance of power in Asia. As Russian and Japanese troops faced each other across contested borders, the world held its breath, knowing that the outcome would echo far beyond the battlefields, changing the course of history for generations to come. At the heart of the conflict lay Manchuria and Korea, two territories coveted by both Russia and Japan. These regions were not only rich in resources and strategically located, but also represented the gateway to influence and power in East Asia. For decades, both empires had watched each other's moves with growing suspicion, each determined to secure its own interests and prevent the other from gaining the upper hand. Russia, with its Trans-Siberian Railway nearing completion, saw Manchuria as a gateway to further expansion in the east. The railway was more than just a transportation project. It was a symbol of Russian ambition, connecting Moscow to the Pacific and allowing troops and resources to move swiftly across vast distances. Control over Manchuria would secure Russia's access to the region's wealth and strengthen its position as a major power in Asia. Control of Port Arthur, a strategic warm water port, was crucial for Russia's ambitions. Unlike Russia's northern ports, Port Arthur remained ice-free year-round, making it invaluable for both commercial shipping and military operations. The port became a symbol of Russian determination to establish a permanent foothold in the Far East. Japan, however, viewed Korea as essential to its own security and economic interests. The Japanese government believed that control over Korea would protect the Japanese homeland from foreign threats and provide new opportunities for trade and industry. For Japan, allowing another power to dominate Korea was simply unthinkable. Russia's encroachment into these regions was seen as a direct threat by the Japanese leadership. Every Russian advance heightened Japanese fears of encirclement and loss of influence. Tensions mounted as both sides increased their military presence, each preparing for the possibility of war. Diplomatic efforts to ease tensions failed, each side unwilling to back down from its ambitions. Negotiations dragged on for months, but neither Russia nor Japan would compromise on their core interests. The world watched anxiously as the standoff grew ever more dangerous. Negotiations broke down, and in February 1904, Japan launched a surprise attack on Port Arthur, marking the beginning of the Russo-Japanese War. The world was stunned as two great powers clashed in a struggle that would reshape the balance of power in Asia for years to come. The world watched in astonishment as Japan, the once underestimated island nation, dealt a series of crushing blows to the Russian forces, forever altering perceptions of power in the East. The attack on Port Arthur, though costly, was a strategic victory for Japan, crippling the Russian fleet and capturing the world's attention with its boldness and precision. On land, Japanese forces, well equipped and led, proved more than a match for their Russian counterparts, demonstrating remarkable discipline and determination. The battles of Yalu River, Mukden and Liaoyang showcased the tactical brilliance and fighting spirit of the Japanese army, earning admiration even from their adversaries. These victories sent shockwaves through the Western powers, challenging long-held assumptions about global military strength. The myth of European military superiority was shattered, and a new respect for Japan's military prowess emerged across the world stage. The Russo-Japanese War was a clash not only of nations but also of leaders. On the Russian side stood Tsar Nicholas II, an autocratic ruler whose indecisiveness and miscalculations would contribute to his nation's downfall. Leading the Russian forces was Admiral Rozhestvensky, whose ill-fated voyage with the Baltic fleet would end in disaster at the Battle of Tsushima. On the Japanese side, Emperor Meiji provided a figure of unity and national purpose. Guiding the military were men like General Kuroki, known for his tactical acumen, and Admiral Togo, the architect of the devastating victory at Tsushima. These leaders, embodying the spirit of modern Japan, would etch their names in the annals of military history. As the war progressed, Russia's weaknesses became increasingly apparent. Logistical problems plagued the Russian army, hampered by the vast distances and poor infrastructure. The Tsar's government, riddled with corruption and inefficiency, struggled to mobilize effectively for a war on such a scale. The final blow came with the Battle of Tsushima in May 1905. The Russian Baltic fleet, having sailed halfway around the world, was utterly decimated by Admiral Togo's fleet. This defeat, a crushing humiliation for Russia, forced the Tsar to the negotiating table. The Treaty of Portsmouth, mediated by United States President Theodore Roosevelt, formally ended the war in September 1905. Russia had lost, and the world was stunned. The Russo-Japanese War had profound and far-reaching consequences, not only for the two nations directly involved, but also for the broader international community. The conflict, which erupted in 1904 and ended in 1905, shocked the world with its scale and intensity, and its outcome would reverberate for decades to come. For Japan, victory was more than just a military triumph. It signified the nation's arrival as a formidable power on the world stage. The Japanese people celebrated with pride, and their leaders recognized that they had fundamentally altered the balance of power in East Asia. The nation's prestige soared to unprecedented heights, and its military achievements earned it a new level of respect and even apprehension from Western powers who had previously underestimated Japan. The world now saw Japan as a modern, industrialized nation capable of challenging the old order. For Russia, the defeat was a profound humiliation. The loss exposed the deep weaknesses of the Tsarist regime, both militarily and politically, and it sowed the seeds of discontent that would eventually erupt into revolution. The Russian people, already burdened by hardship, grew increasingly restless and distrustful of their leaders. The loss of prestige and influence in Asia was a bitter pill to swallow for the Russian Empire. The defeat not only diminished Russia's standing among the great powers, but also led to significant territorial concessions and a crisis of confidence within the government. The war also marked a dramatic turning point in global power dynamics. It signaled the rise of new players on the world stage and forced established powers to reconsider their strategies and alliances. For the first time in centuries, a non-European power had decisively defeated a major European nation. This historic victory shattered long-held assumptions about global hierarchy, inspiring colonized peoples around the world and altering the course of the 20th century. The Russo-Japanese War cast a long shadow over the 20th century. It shattered the myth of European invincibility, emboldened nationalist movements in Asia, and set the stage for Japan's further expansionist ambitions in the decades that followed. The war's impact on Russia was equally profound, contributing to the social and political upheaval that would culminate in the Russian Revolution of 1917. The lessons of the Russo-Japanese War, from the importance of naval power to the dangers of underestimating one's opponents, would resonate in the years leading up to the First World War. The conflict serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of imperial ambition and the enduring impact of even seemingly distant conflicts.